To those who stay home a lot, I was that dude. I was that guy. I played video games at one point in my life for 16 hours a day, literally, while going to school. I was in high school. But the thing is, I found a way to strategically sleep during my classes. That way I could be rested for the time I get home, and I could maximize the amount of time I was putting into my character development in my video game. I think it's because my dad passed at a young age, and he was my coach in sports, baseball, basketball, and he abruptly died when I was 12, and so I didn't really heal. Never went back to the graveyard, didn't really talk about it. I just kind of escaped from it and started playing a lot of video games. And you don't need to have a traumatic death in your family to be an introvert who likes to stay home a lot. I was already a video game nerd. I just think it was an added leverage for me to now no longer play sports or do anything else. So I really started to stay home more and more, to the point where outside of school, I wouldn't really leave the house. And then when summer came, I really didn't leave the house. It was like extra incentive to stay home and play video games even more. Yeah. And there was not a whole lot of growth, as you can imagine. The only character that was really developing was my level 60 Frost Gnome mage, who I had absolutely just decked out in World of Warcraft. And I lived a life, although I was somewhat happy at that point, I think long term I wouldn't have actually been happy in that life. Like, I was happy because of the video game that I built up, the character I built up there, but I think deep down, I was really just running and trying to escape from the reality of the world. I had very low levels of confidence. I didn't go to the high school prom. I was afraid to ask a girl. There was a girl that was even down to go with me that year. Literally, she was probably waiting for me to ask her. I just never asked her. And that didn't go because I was embarrassed. I stayed home, played video games. And it took me a long time to get out of my shell, guys. Like a really, really long time. I commuted to college. I would just literally drive to college, and I was afraid to dorm at college because that would mean that I'd have to be more social, just be in a really uncomfortable environment. So I just commuted to college. And then as soon as class was over, I would drive home. I would get to class late. That way I wouldn't need to socialize in the hallway before the teacher gets there. I'd show up 2 to 3 minutes late intentionally. Because if you're more than 5 minutes late, you get marked as absent. If you're 2-3 minutes late, it's like a grace period, but you don't need to talk to anybody. You just walk in, you sit in class. As soon as class is over, I put my head down, go out to the car, drive home, smoke weed, stay home. That's all I would do, man. Up until I was in my 20s. So my entire teenage years going into 20, 21, 22. And yeah, I graduated college at 23. And man, it was not a good time. Honestly, very antisocial at the time. And I just remember being nervous driving to fucking school. That's really what it was. My anxiety levels were so high. Morning, brother. What's up? My anxiety levels were so high that even going to school, even sitting in the fucking school classroom hallway was anxiety-induced experience, which is crazy to think about. But I'm saying this because for anybody that's out there, you're watching this video and you're thinking, damn, I really don't leave the house, or I'm trying to get out there more. I wasn't even trying initially, but I know there's a lot of dudes that I've helped and I've coached that they want to start getting out there more, right? Because at the end of the day, life just becomes better when you're more confident and you can go out into the world and see all the opportunity that's out there, dude. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And I'm not even talking about just women. I'm not talking about any one element. I just mean there's this saying the world is your playground. The world is your oyster, whatever. It literally is. When you have social confidence, it really is your playground, because what you realize first off is that majority of the world doesn't have social confidence. So if you're the dude who's actually walking around with it, you're literally you're the character in the video game and everybody else is in reaction to you. Honestly, it's a cheat code, massive fucking cheat code. And I think that's why I took it so far, was because I was already obsessed with video games. And so once I learned this side, I was already really good at character development. So I just applied it to my actual life. I used gamification into my own life, and I took that very, very far. But if you're a dude right now who isn't getting out that much, you need to start small. You're not just gonna flip this complete 180 into like God mode. It was very tough for me to get it off the ground. But I think some of the first couple things I did in hindsight there's like 3 things that really came to my mind as I'm thinking about this right now. Number 1 was I reconnected with some childhood friends. We kind of got disconnected in middle school going into high school, but I reconnected with a couple of them, and they were pretty social. And they invited me to come out a couple times. And even though I was awkward, I still went out. I had no sense of fashion. I was wearing PJs. I was like PJ sweatpants when I would go out. And they were like, dude, you can't wear fucking PJs out. Like, you gotta go get some jeans or some shit, bro. And so I started to hang around a couple kids that I knew that pushed me a little bit more into social environments. That was one big thing. The other thing that I did, which was very challenging for me too, but my mom got me a delivery job at this pizzeria / catering spot. And so that was a really good way to start being social too. I remember walking in awkward as fuck on my first day. Awkward as fuck. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to stand in the restaurant. Didn't know how to interact with anybody. I was so closed off and shy. But having a job that forces you to talk to other people, then I gotta deliver the food. I gotta probably make 15 to 20 deliveries a day. So I'm interacting with all of those customers. Sometimes I'll do catering setups where I'd have to sit there and actually talk to the people while I set up the trays. Occasionally there'd be girls that I'm delivering the food to. Wasn't an amazing pay, but it was honestly a critical piece for my self-development and my social skills. And so school could have been a massive opportunity. I just shied away from that part because I wasn't in the right headspace at the time. It wasn't until I started getting into my mid-20s that I really came out of it. I'm 34 right now. So it took me like 10 years to get to the point I'm at. It doesn't need to take you 10 years. And then the third thing I really did was just start baby stepping my way into more social interaction. Once I already had the ball rolling a little bit with my friends, they helped me with my clothes, my fashion. I was not swaggy at all, but at least they gave me something somewhat presentable. I would go to the gym with these guys. I would go out occasionally on the weekend. I would drink alcohol when I would go out because there was no way in hell I would go out sober. But it was still a step in the right direction, honestly. And I'm not a big advocate for alcohol, but like, honestly, in hindsight, I'm glad I actually drank. So at least I went out. It brought me to a way better position now than it would have if I just stayed home playing video games my entire life. I would have never met a girl. I would have never taken my fitness seriously, would never develop my social confidence, started my business, started my brand, ended up having like a full-blown career off of being an entrepreneur. So there's like so much shit that can happen. But it starts with putting yourself in a position where you can meet people that are social. I think the gym, at school, if you have some level of confidence where you can go out on the weekends, start pushing yourself slowly into those environments. You're not just gonna suddenly become the social guy, but you can start to go out in baby steps. You go out for that one night for an hour. If it's really uncomfortable, okay, you go home after the hour. But at least you did that, and then you can build off of that. If you go out during the daytime, I think I tell everybody on my Instagram and anybody that I talk to, they know I have a very big philosophy of just trying to say something to one stranger every day. Even if it's in passing, even if you need to just start off with a, hey, good morning. That's where you start, bro. But you want to do that every day. Every day, and then you build up. You build up from 1 to 3, and then you go from 3 to 3, and then one quick little conversation, and then you do 3 and a quick little conversation, and you say something to a girl in passing. Nice jacket. I like your dog. That's still a win, dude. You don't realize it, but you're literally laying the foundation right there. So it's the friends, it's your job. Be selective about your job. I'd rather take slightly less pay, but be in a position where I can interact with people all day versus slightly more pay, but I'm isolated in a cubicle. Man, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Right, so be selective about your job. Be selective about the people you hang out with. consume the right content on a daily basis too. Stop watching fucking TV. Start watching more shit like this. And then it's just one step at a time. All right? I promise you, I don't care how low you are, guys. I was at the lowest of the low. 16 hours a day playing video games. I was the Field Marshal Frost Gnome Mage named Brutality on the Dragon Maw PvP server, dude. Absolute fucking loser. 16 hours a day. Had no shot. Could not talk to a single person out unless I had my headset on. And I was on a PvP battleground. If I can do it, I promise you, you can do it. And it just starts with those first couple steps. And dude, life gets so much better when you get out the house. So for anybody that's staying home a lot, there's nothing wrong with staying home, but it's in moderation. And if you're the dude, as I'm telling you this story, you're like, yeah, I don't get out enough. Okay, this is a sign, man. You wanted to start taking one step at a time, putting yourself into these environments a little bit more, taking that first step towards becoming more social, your friend selection, your job selection, and your content consumption. All right, and goals for this week, okay? That's all for this video, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. If you want to work with me directly, links in the description. Peace out.